Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of thanks to Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Henrik86, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, Chris Hillman, NA Literalist, Steve ALM, Maria Nealons, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Nathan Thompson, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Missouri Bear, Liam Nedrick, Dank, Erwin Jennisons, Abraham Mohammed, Dave Rakia Gafford, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, Felix Hung, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, Kirsten Smith, Tina Baker, Alexander Main, and David Wayne Foster. So massive thanks to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now we are joined by Neil and Vacuum, wonderful, in Discord, so I'll raise the mic on them and you can enjoy their hopefully wonderful conversation while I set up for today's live show.
How come I can't hear Vacuum? Everybody?
It's hard to hear stupid.
Can you hear me now?
Well, I was muted, but then I wasn't talking.
Hi, Jacob. We're online and stop. I get my tape measure.
Are you trying to communicate with us, Neil, or have you just left your mic wide open to rattle and make a load of noise? I'll take that as I just left my mic open to make a load of noise.
No, I'm working and they got a flood issue here, so now I'm stuck waiting for them to figure this out.
Okay.
So I'm on mute.
Perfect, yeah. Please be vigilant with your mute button.
I won't do a Travis.
Excellent. Sorry, Neil. What?
I said, from what I understand, I think Bevis is a little bit upset, this whole thing with QE.
What whole thing?
I don't know. Whatever happened with QE and the thing that Emma sent yesterday, that they weren't supposed to talk about that. I think he took it the wrong way, and they're taking it the wrong way. That's the gist I got. I told him just call QE and talk to him, find out what the heck's going on. That's all. That's what I would do. Right? That's what I would do if I had an issue. I'd call a person. I wouldn't ask for mediation. I wouldn't ask for somebody to do it. I go right to.
No, my silence was an agreement. Yeah, I agree. I don't really understand what the situation is. Go on, Steve.
Anthony was on this morning with him, and he said the same thing. He said he thinks that both parties are misunderstanding each other. So he thinks that's what's happening.
I'm sure it'll get resolved. They're all reasonable people. I don't know Emma that well, but I know Bev and I know Quantum Eraser pretty well, and they're both reasonable people. I'm sure Emma's the same.
I don't know what Emma said. Emma started it by writing John a text, and then she left. I don't even know the clarification there. I think it's all ridiculous, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I read that. I didn't understand what she meant though. But then she left, so I couldn't even ask. But I looked at it because I was instructed to look long after all of this has unfolded. And this, I don't understand what this is, if you know what I mean.
She said that QE told them months ago not to be talking about that, focus on the black swan. But I said to her this morning, I said, yeah, maybe that was the issue back then because you wanted everybody to catch on to the argument. But now it's moved on and he's over here now.
What were they talking about?
Level not being curved. Level being level.
Oh, yeah, I think I got to caught the tail end of that.
From what side? QE or Bev and Emma?
No, just people chatting about it in the text Discord.
Yeah, same here. In other words, you don't know anything about it.
No, I don't think I do.
Well, we got cut off yesterday.
Hey, chocolate.
When QE came in, and then we got cut off. We didn't get to hear the rest of the story.
Fair enough. But if this is just a misunderstanding, then I don't think there's any reason to dwell upon it, although we're discussing it now, just because there's been a bit of a hullabaloo from the sounds of things.
Good morning.
Morning, 10th. Sorry, I thought you were chocolate.
I know that. I heard you say that. I have to kind of talk low. I have the grandkids next door.
Fair enough.
You thought he was chocolate? You thought he was made of chocolate?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh my word.
Yes.
It's gone crazy in this flipping channel, isn't it?
Indeed.
Well, we raised the bars here.
Boom, boom.
Good one.
If you're going to be on here, Vacuum, you better be funny, or we're going to kick your ass out of here.
You
Is
need
that
to
the
be a bit-
benchmark, is it?
Can you be a bit louder, Steve? Any chance you can? I've got you at absolute maximum, and you're still quieter than everyone.
Sorry, I was just telling Vacuum if he's going to be here, he better be funny, or we're going to get rid of him.
Yeah, I can just about make out what you're saying. It's all good.
I could listen to Steve all day, no matter what he's saying to me or about me.
Oh, isn't that sweet?
I thought it was me you liked.
I like a lot of people, Neil. Come on. I can like more than one person.
Except Nathan.
I just particularly like Steve's voice. It's yeah, I think he should do an audio book or something. ASMR is it called?
Yeah, AMSR, where they like talk in a particular way about something.
I don't think it's quite that, because I think you've got to whisper. But the point I'm trying to make is he's got a really pleasant voice.
Yeah, we said he was like the narrator. Do you remember The Big Lebowski, where he sat at the bar talking to the guy with the cowboy hat?
Oh no, I don't think I've seen that.
Fair enough. There's a cowboy-sounding guy that narrates a lot of films, but just happens to be actually sat talking to Lebowski at the right early on in the film, sort of asking him about where he's going and stuff. But then he becomes the narrator for the rest of the film because he's often narrating films, just credited as the narrator. But he sounds like Steve, or I think he sounds like Steve.
He does those pickup truck commercials too. I know you're talking about, Nathan. That's hilarious.
Soothing, non-offensive.
I think.
Go on.
I think based on the truck commercial, my mind is thinking of the actor Sam Elliott.
I think that's him.
Is that him?
The beard, usually like a cowboy. Yeah.
Yeah, Sam Elliott.
Let's just look it up to see if it is exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm Googling it right now. Yep, that's him, Sam Elliott.
Tombstone.
Oh right, yeah, he was
Be-
one of the.
There'll be a daisy if you
Yeah,
do.
that's him.
Say
Yes.
when.
Yeah, that's him.
Oh yeah, I know him. You're not
Most
Sam
recent-
Elliott, are you, Steve?
Most recent movie. Most recent movie is that one with Lady Gaga. A Star Is Born. He
Sounds
played
terrible.
the brother of the other guy.
Lady Gaga in A Star Is Born. Oh, God.
I like that movie, buddy.
More conditioning.
What? Because of the word star? How do you mean? Tell me more.
Who are you addressing?
Or Born?
You? You said more brainwashing or more programming or something like that.
Yeah, well, how they're hoisting certain celebrities, actors, singers, whoever. They have their niche in what they do. In this case, Lady Gaga with the music and so forth. And then all of a sudden you see another genre. They try to make this person big in this genre. Then you see it, then another one. So the breaking into the movies, then the political, where they go and start talking about their views on politics, and start pushing that. Well, I've never seen the media or these powerful forces that can show someone's opinions or views to the whole world do that with average ordinary people. They always just do it with a certain group of people, the Hollywood type, the singing industry. So it's just more conditioned because this is what they want you to hear from this particular viewpoint. So it's not just Lady Gaga herself, but everyone within that frame of, okay, we can reach the masses through this movie, through this person, through this, message. Well, let's do it in the song. Let's do it in this. And so you just see rinse, repeat, the same people. But would they go get average ordinary Joe to talk about it? No.
Well, that's money, isn't it? They want to get to as big an audience as possible, don't they? To make money.
It's just
Well, money
I
is
heard
describing,
last night in
describing
I heard
demographics.
last night in Normie News. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
I
I
was
heard
talking
last-
over you, Hank. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. I heard last night in Normie News that a star disappeared, and they can't figure out where it went because it didn't go supernova or anything. So, of course, they're automatically caught at the gap saying that the aliens did it. But yeah, you guys might want to look into that. A star disappeared.
What, the scientists are saying aliens did it?
Mentioned scientists, but that's what he's saying, yeah.
Of course.
That's funny.
Well, one just so story is as good as the next day, Hank. If you're going to make up all of the stuff and nonsense around the stars themselves and one happens to vanish, well, you can make up a whole story about why.
It'd be good if it was aliens.
You hit the nail on the hammer on the nail the other day, Nathan. It's a lie, the moon landing, and then you mentioned think about everything else that possibly could be a lie in your life, and that's a big highlight point right there. It's like every one of us probably believes something that's not quite true.
Yeah, go listen to George Carlin do a few stand-up gigs, and he says it like it is. The whole system's designed to be against you, and most people are quite content with it. Often they'll fight for it. It's amazing, but there we go. Some people understand, and some people don't. And having
You're
your eyes
not
open,
part of the club.
well, I'm just saying, if you have your eyes open to one blatant deception, there's a very good chance you'll go, oh, hang on a second, what else have I been lied to about? Well, that's bad news, isn't it?
Yeah, I broke
Good
Neil's
morning.
heart
Can you
the
guys
other
hear me?
day. I told him the NFL was rigged.
Yes, we do hear you, Paul. Say again, Steve.
I said I broke Neil's heart the other day when I told him the NFL was rigged. He didn't want to hear that.
No, people don't want to hear it. If you say that sports is in any way not what they expect, they get very defensive. You've got a load of feedback, by the way, Steve, if you can turn your speakers down as well.
Did you say the NFL is rigged?
The NFL is not.
Here we go.
How was it rigged? That's an interesting one.
You said it, money.
No, I mean, how do they rig it? Like, I can understand if it's for money. I mean, that's usually the root cause. But how have they rigged it?
There's
You
videos.
just gotta,
You can go through YouTube videos.
Hold on, everyone. Why is everyone else
Okay,
answering? Hold on. Steve's made the claim. Just let him back him if he wants to, or if he doesn't, I'll give some examples. But let Steve at least try and back his claim. He's being challenged to by Vacuum. Go ahead, Steve.
No, I'm not challenging. I can believe it, but I can't think how they've done it.
well,
Go, Steve, go. Go. We lost him. Sometimes match fixing, back in the day when I used to watch any sort of mainstream media, got reported. How the matches were being fixed and the fines that came, at least in soccer, that got reported when they got found out. Have you never seen reports? Clearly not.
Oh, are we just talking about match fixing? I thought you meant it was like
we're not.
systematically rigged.
What do you think that is? Fixing,
Well,
rigging.
match fixing is a fraud, isn't it?
Ugh. My point is, there's examples that I can give you that mainstream actually let you know about, right? That's just the tip of the iceberg,
yeah.
Obviously.
I don't consider match fixing like it being rigged. That's just someone's deception for their own personal gain. I thought you meant like systematically rigged from the top down. You know what I mean?
It is systematically rigged from the top down. You'll notice if you pay real close attention, none of these coaches go nowhere. Oh, we fired this coach, but guess what? He goes over here. All the offensive coordinators and the defensive coordinators, they're real key aspects of that game. They never disappear. And then the colleges all run pro games.
Steve, that's all walks of life.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I'm
I
with
don't
Neil
care.
on
It's
that.
still rigged. All walks of life are rigged. That's a fact, Neil.
Yeah, I'm with Neil on this one. It's sort of like you might fire a manager or a coach because they're not doing it for you and the fans demand it. But that coach, that manager is still very, very good. He might just need a different team or a different number of staff around him. You know what I mean? Or her.
I'll give you one. Okay, so I've been watching mixed martial arts for a long time. And if you'll notice, one of the greatest of all time, arguably, Anderson Silva. The first time he ever was defeated in the UFC, and he'd only lost one other match his entire career outside of the UFC. But the first time he lost, someone bet $1 million against him. Now, up until this point, he was destroying everybody. And $1 million is a big number to bet against the arguably greatest of all time pound-for-pound fighter. And he held his title for a really long time. So this particular fight, he fought Chris Weidman for the first time, was showboating in the cage, begging the guy to come on, hit me, antagonizing the guy in such a way that he was hitting him in such a way that it would piss him off and not knock him out. And then in the middle of showboating gets knocked out. Now, to me, as a longtime fan of the sport, it was obvious to me that something funny was going on.
Well, that's match fixing, isn't it? That's different to systematic riggery.
What makes you think that every match has to be fixed? If it was, no one would be watching because everyone would spot it then. So they got to have so much be normal, and then all of a sudden, when it's important to whoever, then they fix it. So why is that systematic concept of yours have to be every single play, every single match?
I don't. No, I'm not saying it does, but to me, it's not evidence of like a systematic failure somewhere.
Well, of
or
course
not
it is.
certainly not systematic
Vegas,
rigging.
You got Vegas and the betting at Vegas. You've got the NFL draft, where I saw a video of someone doing a whole thing on what team would get what player. I'm sorry, it was the NBA on this one. And the guy who threw the envelope inside of this rolling thing, bent the corner. It was so obvious what he did to one envelope that he didn't do to the other envelopes. And then, of course, the commissioner knew which one to avoid until the end, so that team would get that one person because it had the bent edge. And you could see it on video, the guy bending the edge of one envelope, but not the others. It was
Right.
so clear.
Okay, fine. Just before we
they
carry
do
on with
anything
this,
about it?
definitely. Sorry, Vacuum. But I agree with Vacuum. So far, no one's made a compelling case to say that the entire thing's corrupt from the top down. I would agree with Vacuum on that. No one's made a compelling case for that. Plenty of incidental cases, but yeah.
Yeah, and my point was, if it was compelling, no one would be watching it at all.
I see what you mean. Yeah, if it was completely exposed, that was my comment. That's the tip of the iceberg.
Right.
I was making a killing till the NFL quit playing on the rigged games. I had a bookie that knew all about it, and his name was Zachary Hubbard. He runs the Gematria Sports Effect News. That guy's spot on.
Excellent. Gambling is the devil. Can we move on?
It's also a crime what you've just admitted to.
Oh yeah. What's the crime? What's he admitted to?
Betting on known outcomes.
Steve, can you put yourself on mute? You're causing a load of feedback. Thank you. Say again, Vacuum.
I'm not trying to start. I'm just being a bit light-hearted. I didn't mean to have a go there. I'm not gonna shop you to the police or the feds.
No one thought you did. No one thought you would. But what you're saying is wrong. I'm still intrigued to know what you said.
Oh no, like gambling on a known outcome like that's rigged that's a federal crime, I think.
Makes sense.
So is match fixing and rigging it in the first place, right?
Oh yeah,
Right.
I know.
Yeah, the whole
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
sounds very shady. Indeed. Anyway, I see this as small potatoes, to be perfectly honest.
Small potatoes are the nicest, if you ask me.
They are. You're not wrong.
So we ran into a situation where I was talking to in chat on MAUK's channel about level, straight and horizontal versus curve. And like I've said before, and you have and others, that if you can't get the words right, then one person's talking with a meaning to something that is duplicitous, even possibly to the point of violating the law of non-contradiction. So it happened there, as it happens here, it happens all the time. When we say curved, we mean sphere, a visible curve that a sphere would give you. And the ballers always say, well, as far as we all could see, it's level, but over there on the other disco ball square of their Earth with the square planes, you have a separate zenith, a separate plumb line, and it's plane there. It's like, what are you talking about? And
They're
then you
talking
go
about-
to the definitions. You go to the definitions and pretty much any encyclopedia, dictionary, whatever. And they all side with how we're looking at it because we're just reading what the definitions are saying. And then the way they take those words, they say level is curved. Well, how can you even have a conversation if someone thinks level is curved?
Right, you're dealing with fundies, but they describe it as them making the presupposition that they're stood on a sphere and then mapping out their plane, as you call it, the disco ball squares. Well, each time they lay down their flag, they're going to say, now we figure out where we are in relation to the sphere belief we have, and then we'll go from there. So it's always starting with the assumption that they're making sure they're in the right position based on Earth-centered, Earth-fixed, or WGS84. It's just begging the question. Where am I on a sphere? Oh, so you're automatically assuming you stood on a sphere? Yeah, I'm pointing at this angle to the centre of Earth. Check it out. Here's where I am on WGS84 when I do all my maths. That's where I'm stood. This is the angle I'm pointing. Now, from here on in, we'll use Euclidean principles and assume everything's flat.
I'm going to go on mute. I'll be back.
Okie dokie. Got full house in Discord. Go, Hank. Go on.
So Nathan, I know that you used to do the whole interview thing, and you switched it up to debate. I was curious, what made you want to switch over to the debates instead of interviews? Did you run out of people to interview? Surely not. There's always
Longevity. So I saw what I wanted was a way of being able to make daily shows, and interviews just wouldn't offer me that. I couldn't line up daily interviews. So the debate was the perfect means of having a show that would have a life. Now, as far as I can tell, until the 99% of the Western world don't believe they live on a sphere, I'll still have a show. So that's the reason. I'm a YouTuber first and foremost. There you go.
Yeah, I never did like the whole interview. I never did watch your show when you were doing interviews or potatoes. I never did watch your show either. I might have caught it on there in the beginning. Realized it wasn't no good, or it wasn't to my liking. I'm sure it did. But yeah, the debates
Harsh
was always
criticism there.
No, I just meant it's not my cup of tea. I'm sure you can understand that. I didn't mean it that
Yeah, of course.
way. I just woke up, roughly thrown together. Sorry, man.
No, not everyone
Well,
wants to
that's
sit
fair-
through
fair
other
comment.
people's musings and ideas and thoughts on a subject, especially if it's 99% about them and what they think. So all of the interviews I did, if you're not that interested in the point of view of the person I'm interviewing, then you're not going to watch. But it's more a way of getting my personal journey on a documentation in documented form, because there it is. You can see how my progression has taken place with those interviews, how my thoughts, feelings, and all the rest of it have been changed. And then at the point the debate starts, or at least 100 shows into the debate, you can see where it changes to forget all of my feelings and thoughts. None of them are really relevant. Let's just get down to brass tacks and what's empirically provable and what isn't. That said, there were some excellent interviews. The interview with Johnny Sarushi, for a perfect example, that was an excellent interview. Admittedly, because I hardly said anything, but it was still a good interview.
Yeah, I didn't mean it like that, man. I just woke up. I just said it wasn't my cup of tea. I'm very combative in sports, and I drive for a living, so I like competing against my fellow employees. Yeah, I didn't mean anything by it.
I took no offence. Don't worry about it, Hank. I know you from the circuit. When I was doing those interviews, I was still out and about, seeing you out and about on the combative circuit. So obviously I'd got a taste for it long before I was doing shows with a debate as the format. So, that's how you and I know each other. We were out and about debating people, and it wasn't on my show.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Nathan, do you ever go on other people's shows?
Did you not just listen to the last 2 minutes of conversation? I know Hank Hill because we were on the circuit debating each other long before I had a debate show. That's how I know him. Not because I interviewed him.
I meant recently, sorry.
Well, the thing is, I hear stories like QE told only yesterday, where he went onto one of these other platforms and within 30 seconds of getting there, he was shut down. So what's the benefit to me? As a YouTuber, I assess these things and go, there is absolutely no benefit. So I don't do it.
Have you seen Playing Our Walks channel? He's a good moderator, I find.
Couldn't care less. There's no benefit to me to do it. I've just explained that.
No, I'm just saying he probably wouldn't shut you down like straight away. Just saying.
Planner Walk. Is he the guy that's always half asleep?
He's the New Zealand guy. He talks in a sort of a very moderated way. He doesn't get too excited about much, but I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I use clips of him saying we don't see or would not expect to see the geometric horizon. That's a quote from Planner Walk.
Oh no, I'm just saying he's quite a good moderator when he does a debate. He lets people talk.
Also useful for a Globe quote or two. We wouldn't expect to see the geometric horizon. Quote, Planner Walk.
Oh no, I'm not saying his views are right because I don't really know, but he's a good moderator. I'm saying he probably wouldn't shut you down in 30 seconds. That's all I'm saying.
All right, fascinating. He's been here. We've had him on the show.
I know. I'm just saying that. Would you not go on his show?
For what? What would it benefit me? What's in it for me?
Well, I think a lot of people would be interested to see it, to be honest.
What, a lot of his audience
sides
would be interested to see me on his show? Yeah, I'm sure they would.
Well, but both sides, I mean, Nathan. I reckon your supporters too.
Both sides come here already. No advantage to me whatsoever. Anything else?
No, I'm just having a chat, I'm asking questions. I think it's the tone of my voice. I might sound disingenuous. Could keep saying that. Oh no, it's Neil. Neil thinks I'm disingenuous.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Excuse me. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by 10th Man, and I believe Paul Hall, although he seems to have vanished, along with a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. 3 to 5% on the enthusiasm level. Excellent stuff. Let's see how we get on with housekeeping. Any signs of a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curvature?
Oh no.
Don't be shy. Most of the Western world think they live on a sphere. Think the horizon's physical sphere edge. Hello, Arwin. Hello, Paul. Keen as mustard. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Nope. Stationary.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It's over there.
That's
But
correct.
no distance to it. It's just visual. So
Apparent.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
nope. Just reification fallacies. And just
What's
some
gravity, you
stories
say?
with conceptual mediums.
Perfect. Someone asked, what's gravity? It's a reification fallacy.
Okay, cool. Just an effect, no cause.
Can you hear me? I just
Yeah, we
said
heard you,
that.
Arwin. Yeah. For sure.
Just checking.
It's all good. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics? Whoops.
They never get to that part. They get their paycheck before they get to actually working on the scientific method. So they don't need to.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Nope. Oh, I did see a story, though, supposedly from NASA, about how the moon originally had a molten core and then how it cooled down and how they calculated that through a computer generated model to determine how old the moon must be. Isn't that fascinating?
Fascinating.
I love cartoons. Cartoons are my favorite. I used to wake up as a kid, and then this has absolutely nothing to do with reality. Then I became it.
I'll show it. I'll present the article.
I got the same feeling, Hank, from Science at NASA is the name of the channel. And every single time they publish anything on YouTube, oh, here we go, Owen's got his article up, it would literally say, not actual representation or conceptualization and things like that. You'd have it tagged at the bottom. And every time I was left feeling so empty, because I never actually got to see anything that actually had occurred from Science at NASA. Go on, Owen, do you want to talk through this? Oh, you just have, but you've summarised it, but go ahead.
Yeah, computer model reveals moon is 85 million years younger than previously speculated and was home to a massive magma ocean for 200 million years. Right. And they got a picture of it too. Check it out. This is how they think
Looks
the
like
magma
the-
ocean must have looked originally. Isn't that just special?
True, because they made it up themselves. Previously speculated? No. Previously told to you as fact and claimed to be science. Now, previously speculated.
They mentioned Thea in here as well. Scientists believe the moon formed when a Mars-sized protoplanet dubbed Thea collided with Earth about 4.5 billion years ago. Yeah, it's basically that story in there. Oh, here, look, they got a model. They got a model for the moon core. That's amazing. They even know the core of the moon now. How did they figure it out?
Well, you can just make it up.
As
long as you've got the word scientists in there, which it has, that's good enough, isn't it? This is basically science, isn't it?
Right.
No, not right. Total nonsense. Completely made up stories.
Researchers say the moon was completely molten in its early years and remained that way until rocks eventually floated to the surface and cooled. What? The experts found 2 times found that the magma ocean was active 150 to 200 million years ago. It's just speculation gone wild here.
Yeah.
With models.
It's just completely made up stories. Completely and utterly made up, from its origin of a planet smashing into a fledgling Earth called Thea taking away a top layer, depositing its molten iron core, and the debris forming the moon is that story that we tell here often. And it's completely made up, but yet they've got a whole narrative about the core of the moon off the back of that bullshit story. I love it.
So how did they get P waves and S waves on the moon to know?
I was waiting for that. I don't know.
They
you
used ham radio signals.
Don't need to phrase it as a question. Just when Arwin says it's nonsense, you just state it as a defence, Paul. So as follows: no, Arwin, P waves and S waves. End statement.
Oh, right. That was my answer yesterday, wasn't it?
No,
Yeah.
you've presented this, and I'm saying that you're saying it's not true. It's just all made up, and they couldn't possibly know what happened 200 million years ago. But no, it's now the modern way of measuring it. It's P waves and S waves.
Okay, but I still don't know what they are, though. I don't even know if you can do that over distance from the Earth.
Yeah, we knew you didn't understand.
Damn it. Anyway, I'm just amazed by just the detail of this model. This is like the encyclopedia all over again, except now it's all about the moon. And now they got a giant just so story about all that. What's supposed to be in there, and like, the fuck?
I mean, we do it too, though. I mean, if we had some pretty pictures with the rebellious gas particles, and we just peppered it with scientists believe that, and experts have found by way of mathematics, you know, if you change it into that sort of language, you know, we could have our whole own narrative about the rebellious gas particles that was just as legitimate, you know, with as much validity as this has, i.e. none.
Mm-hmm.
Do you move on? Thank you, Arwin. Thank you,
Yeah.
Hank.
Welcome.
Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius? Where's chocolate?
Well, they have to presuppose it now, or all these models would be completely useless.
Black Swan. Last but by no means least, any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container for all of those fundamentalist religious zealots who believe the sky is a vacuum.
Yes, you walk outside and you assume everything is already in a vacuum, and that the second law of thermodynamics that has been established on Earth does not apply to the Earth, and then things work out.
And also that gas goes down, go boom boom like helium bouncy balls.
That's just an afterthought at that point.
Yeah, that's a step too far. That's far too stupid. Sorry. I shouldn't really introduce the Thunderfoot clown nonsense. It's just too farcical.
Don't forget, you forgot one. Time moves faster up there than it does down here. So that's what causes the gas to stay around here. That's what happens.
Yeah, at least Darwin kept it on the really is level, Paul.
So
but
are
on the
you
other hand,
saying
that is a
the gas
defense
is
they use.
expanding into a stasis situation and therefore not escaping into outer space?
That was top quality bullshit, Arwin. Kudos. Expanding
That's
into a
what he
status
suggested by
situation.
that.
That's right. They're suspended. They're in suspended animation in status as they reach that Kármán line. That's beautiful bullshit.
Well, that would kind of give the suggestion that Earth is the only place within the presupposed outer space where there's actually time. And then that means that outside of there, there would not be any time, at least by our experience standard. So everything would just not move. I wonder what would happen if you'd go there, if you just froze up and nothing, you wouldn't be able to move anymore. I don't
Yeah,
know.
like in Red Dwarf. Like when he goes into status.
Right.
Yeah. And then you can have all sorts of bullshit stories that come off the back of that like they had. Like you could have a tear in the fabric of the stasis, and then that could act as a gateway / portal to a different time that the stasis pod has leaked into. Perfect. No, it's all kinds of nonsense.
Well, that's a like relativity theory based idea that if you are in stasis and you are timeless, that mean that in that moment you touch upon all time. And then what if you could step out of that situation in another way and then still enter other times despite being in stasis, because you touch upon all time because it's relative.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you should say that. Rob Naylor, one of the writers, got hold of this book written by this guy in a wheelchair called A Brief History of Time. And a lot of the concepts made their way into Red Dwarf. Isn't that amazing? That concludes the housekeeping. Back to talking about sports being rigged.
Oh, I want to respond to Sipwin in chat, who says Arwin talks more sheet than Neil deGrasse.
No, he
You
doesn't.
better damn well believe it.
No.
And my sheet is of a much higher quality than his.
Absolutely. Arwin's bullshit is absolutely true because he made it up himself.
That's not what I said.
That's
Just
what I'm
said it's
saying.
better quality than his.
That is better quality. You are the origin. You can defend it from the source because you made it up yourself.
That's what we call in the farming business organic.
Yeah. Root. You've got a root of that information.
And organic fed, too. I'm organic fed all
You're
the
the
way.
primary source of this bullshit. I mean, information.
Don't need to be like that, Nathan.
I'm only joking.
I know.
Arvin, what are you complaining about? You just said you're primary fed. What do you think comes out after you eat?
I don't know. I don't tend to go to the toilet right after I ate.
This is a pleasant
Oh, you
conversation.
didn't want me to take that literally.
Let's move on. You're not getting the. You're gonna go in dirty down details.
I don't want this conversation to become regular.
Oh, I know most people won't be able to stomach it. Good one, Nathan.
You notice that a few 2015 arguments have been creeping up more and more? We discussed it yesterday a little bit.
Right.
People
Well,
Go on, Owen.
maybe they're just recycling it because they need some new fiber in their diet.
Well, yeah, it seems like the fibre of the globeheads is to recycle old crap, and you're not wrong. But, you know, people making videos again about how much the geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curve, is obstructing things based on the mathematics. It surprises me that the arguments are getting regurgitated so quickly when most people still haven't quite comprehended that the black swan has destroyed their R value and left their model untenable.
I think they're, going back to glory and to relive that.
I could barely make out what he said.
I couldn't make out what he said either. You broke up, Hank. Hey, Chocolate.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning. Just to get you up to speed, Chocolate, we're talking about the fact that some of the old 2015 arguments, which require both the R value and the geometric physical sphere edge horizon, seem to be getting parroted again. How quickly they all get stamped out by the black swan.
Yep.
They're old and busted, still coming back around, huh?
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
They're recycling it to get some fiber in their diet, literally, because fibers, you don't actually, you know how that works, right? In the diet, you don't actually absorb them in your intestines. So if it's recycled shit that you can't really you can't extract any nutrients from it anymore because it's all been dispelled. So it is really like recycling fibers.
Perfect. Notice how I will allow an analogy that links the digestion and fibre consumption of a human being to flat Earth. That's acceptable, Arwin.
Right.
Yeah, recycling all that shit. Not to put too fine a point on it.
It could be that they're going back to the 2015 arguments due to acid reflux.
I missed that. My wife was asking me something. Say that again.
I said it could be they're going back to 2015 arguments due to acid reflux.
Well, it does make me gag. I'll let you know that for certain.
Reflux or just amnesia.
Go, Hank.
I
Go.
think that
Go on, Hank.
Like they
Hank's got
really
some mic
forgot
issues. Just one
something
second,
happened
Owen.
because they were so on the losing end of it. They had no viable thing to remember from it, so they just completely forgot and hoped that one day they could try again with a fresh start, hoping it won't happen again. I think this is kind of part of what happens with them in their minds.
Oh, it's pathetic. Just basically going la 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 to the current demolition of their model, making it untenable, and reasserting the original argument. It's like, okay, that's all right. No worries. We appreciate that it's going to take at least another 6 months before you even understand the Black Swan. And by then, you'll have been asserting, in the age of Black Swan demolition of the globe, that you can see a geometric horizon blocking things. It's like, yeah, it's just embarrassing for those of you who are asserting that you've got a geometric sphere-edge horizon, when people like Planner War, because he's come up on this show, are telling us that we wouldn't expect to see the physical geometric sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curve, that used to block boats and buildings and was calculable with the R value that's assumed and gives you a geometric horizon in the Earth curve maths that excludes perspective. You know, it's 2020, guys. How did you phrase it, Chocolate, on QE show yesterday? You said, you know, it's like, come on. I can't remember how you phrased it. It was good, though. Go, Chocolate, go. Busy working. Yeah, basically, they're regurgitating the old...
Are you waiting for me?
Yeah,
sorry, it's a little busy for me today.
On QE show yesterday, you said, you know, they've forgotten, they're not keeping up to date, or they're not up to date with current affairs, or something like that. I can't remember how you phrased it.
You're not keeping up with the progression of events. I think that's what I said.
Perfect. Exactly.
Like,
they're not keeping up with the progression of events. Events have progressed beyond you asserting that you've got a geometric physical sphere edge horizon blocking boats and buildings, fundies. My God.
By the way, you got a super chat from Red to Bill.
I did see. I was just enthusiastic about the fact that they're back to asserting old and busted, as Chocolate puts it. Kudos, boys. I really enjoyed all that made-up garbage. A lot more fun. Oh, I can't read the edge of that. Hold on, let's just make my window bigger. A lot more fun than dealing at the really is level. Thank you very much indeed, Retro Bill, for the super chat. Wow, $25. Really appreciate it. Yeah, thank you, Chocolate. Try to keep up with the argument.
Oh, look. They believe in the curve again. It's really like that, isn't it? Working all that time to just make them understand exactly how things work, where their misconceptions is, where their misunderstandings is, where the cognitive dissonance is. And then if they don't just walk away screaming or something, or get all triggered and red herringy, then later it's like, oh, look, you have to do it all over again, because they're just falling back into the original idea.
Yeah. And 10th Man showing them how. Here you go. This is how they tell you to just consider a not actual, not physical, only existing in maths horizon as the actual physical horizon that you don't have when you look at the horizon. And here's how they do it. Now, I've been laying this out for weeks. I say we. All the hard work's been done by 10th Man. But it's been made clear how the magic trick works. Now, you don't have to accept any of this. It doesn't matter. We're telling you how your rhetoric works. That's all we ever do here. Here's how your rhetoric works. Here's what horizon is. Here's the definition of it. It's your definition. It says it's geometric. You're on a bloody globe. Obviously, you assume the horizon's a sphere edge. You call it Earth curve. You know, but then we get to the Black Swan. We wouldn't expect to see the geometric horizon, is the rebuttal. It's like, yeah, prepare to eat those words when we show exactly how you have considered the geometric, non-physical, non-visible, only existing in maths horizon as a physical location that's blocking boats and buildings. Now, don't get me wrong, I agree, it's going to take them at least 6 months to get this. In the meantime, we're sitting pretty. I've got my feet up, we're all laughing about it. We're telling them to keep up to date with the flat earth debate.
Why is Discord so quiet?
Skeptical just flashed.
Hello, guys.
Go on, Skeptical.
How are you doing, Nathan?
Hey, I'm Ace.
Oh, good, mate. Just okay. I'm honestly just have a confusing question, really. Because now the boulders basically, when it comes to the definition of the horizon, the geometric horizon, they sort of label it. They give it multiple definitions, right? It really confuses me. That I want you to clarify it. Sometimes I've been exposed to terms like apparent horizon, effective horizon, fictitious horizon, atmospheric. What's the difference between these concepts?
Okay, well let's just start with the really is level. We only have one horizon. However, the horizon in the globe model is geometric. So that's the standpoint. We've got a single point where the sky appears to meet the ground. That addresses your second point. Apparent is redundant. All horizons are the apparent position where the sky meets the ground. That's the definition of a horizon. Well, if it's the apparent position where the sky meets the ground, you've got a certain degree of redundancy in that statement when you call it an apparent horizon. All horizons are apparent by definition. Their horizon is not apparent, cannot be seen, cannot be measured, only exists in the geometric maths. Therefore, is not a horizon. Now, also, the astronomical horizon, which is where, if you imagine a line coming out the top of your head pointing towards the sky, and then you draw from that line 90 degrees outwards, at your feet, say, for the sake of argument. Well, that would be described as a horizon. It isn't. It's an imaginary mathematical construct that you're drawing out from your zenith at 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Well, that's not a horizon either. It's an imaginary horizon. So, again, back to, we've only got one horizon. It's the position where the sky appears, or the sky appears to meet the land or sea, just to give a bit of clarity. But that line is an apparent, meaning you can see it, apparent because it's not an actual location. The sky doesn't actually meet the sea or land. Well, there we go. We've only got one. Now, the fact that they've got loads is because their specific horizon, in their geometry, the one that they claim blocks boats and buildings, is physical. The horizon we see in reality is not physical. Therein lies the death of the globe. Their Earth curve is that horizon, because they're telling you, we see Earth curve, and then they calculate how much a boat or building is blocked in whole numbers, feet or meters. And they'll ask you, why is 5 feet missing? Why is 10 feet missing? Why is half the 100-foot building missing? Well, that doesn't account for angular size, because they've turned the whole world inside view to take this effective perspective and call it Earth curve with a geometric physical horizon blocking things. And the horizon, the only singular horizon we see, is not physical. It's not an Earth curve edge. And the Black Swan exposes that. We demolish it as being physical, hence the rebuttal is, we don't have a physical horizon. We wouldn't expect to see it. It's only in existence in the maths, but the horizon that we do see is kind of, we just imagine it to be that, and they just declare it. In other words, they expose their fundy belief about what they expect the horizon to be, physical, when it isn't.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. It's understandable. Thank you for the clarification. Yeah.
My pleasure.
Right, clear.
Yeah, you need a physical geometric sphere edge horizon to give you the R value, fundies. And if you're going to say it's refracted, oh, what do you know? That needs the R value that you don't have if you can't see a geometric horizon to measure it, as Al-Biruni has claimed to do just that. So it's game over, globe. The model's untenable.
Yeah.
You don't have a physical sphere edge horizon. You don't have an R value. We do not live on a sphere. It's merely a philosophy. It was only ever a way of conceptualizing the movement of the stars. We don't stand on a spherical surface. That is a fact.
Yeah.
Kudos to 10th Man. I didn't understand that. I couldn't have given the consistency I just did if it wasn't for 10th Man doing all the research.
What?
Hank, do you want to drop out and come back in again? Because I'm not. You're flashing, but we can't hear you. You hear Hank in the Discord server? Oh, he's dropped. Hopefully, he'll come back.
I can hear it.
You could hear him. I couldn't hear him. Hey, Hank.
Is this better?
Yes, we can hear you. Can everyone else in Discord hear him?
Yeah.
Good.
All right, thanks.
Go ahead.
Yeah, appreciate that. Yeah, so what happened after the Black Swan? You know, you've completely taken away their bedrock. This is their foundation. This is their cornerstone, you know. So they have to change the definitions and come up with new words. And apparent horizon is like saying a married husband at this point. You know, it's just all these different names, and they're just obfuscating, right? That's all they can do. That's all they got left. So now the obfuscation is getting old. So they're referring back to like 2015 arguments, and they're just grasping for straws at this point. You know, this is basically the point where if they've tapped out, we're not letting go. We're still squeezing, and they're just reaching for anything: eyeballs, hair, straws, anything they can reach.
Yeah, clutching at straws. Exactly. Well put. Tapped out, and while their arm's being broken, they're going, it's blocking boats and buildings.
No horizon on a flat Earth.
That's a great one. That's worth breaking down. So because they've got a geometric sphere edge horizon that blocks things in the distance when you turn the view side on, so you can see the side of your own head, when you remove that obstruction, i.e. the hijacking of perspective, you're left with two lines, a line between you and the target and a line along the ground in orthographic view. No horizon, because their horizon only exists because of the physical obstruction of Earth curve in their model, inside view, without perspective. So like I say, just to repeat, as soon as you remove the Earth curve, that leaves them with the delusion that we wouldn't have a horizon. And the same delusion is why they ask us why we can't see New York from Portugal. Well, you can't see it because it's too small. But in their mind, you can draw on a piece of paper, man looking at Portugal, from Portugal to New York, write the word Portugal on the left, draw the side of your own head, excluding perspective, write New York on the right-hand side of the page, draw a line between the two, and say, you should see it. You know, just write a few thousand miles, whatever the distance. Well, you should see it. Look, I can draw a line. There's no horizon blocking your view. Therefore, you should see it. It's like, no, it's tiny. It's way too small. The angular resolution of New York's going to be way beyond what you're capable of seeing with anything. There's no telescope that's going to bring it back into view at those distances. So no, definitely not. But because their Muppet vision excludes perspective, they don't think you'll have a horizon when you remove Earth curve from the equation that isn't there. They haven't got one. You can't see it. But it simultaneously is the only reason you'd have a horizon anyway. And once you don't have one, because we've debunked R, suddenly they ask us, why have we got a horizon at all then? It's like, what? Yes, your Muppet worldview, your Muppet vision worldview is so ingrained that you think the horizon goes when you don't have a physical obstruction anymore. While some of your brethren are telling you we don't see the geometric horizon. It's like, well, what's giving you your horizon, mate, if your geometric horizon can't be seen? Oh, the refracted one based on the geometric horizon with its R value? That makes no sense either. This is all becoming very silly, isn't it?
Wait, we don't see the geometric horizon? I thought somebody said that he got like 2 inches of curvature off a level lake. What happened with that?
I think that one go, are you?
Nope.
Right.
Yeah, shout out to the perspective denying Jesse Kozowski.
Right. Yeah, I wanted to follow up on your point too with the no horizon on the flat Earth. What that statement does is say, no, the Earth is a globe because we can see her horizon, and then they just autographic model it. You kind of did say it completely, but they say, no, we have a horizon, so it must be a globe. That's really what that statement means.
Yeah.
But it's the wrong one. They used to say it was the geometric one. The one that would block.
Yeah, the one that would have some physical capabilities to it.
What?
You broke up for a second there, Choco.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm in a shitty warehouse right now.
Right. But this is really more and more what the ballers are doing. Is like Chaiki is a prime example of this. Is just forcing straw men, just from their way of thinking, saying no, it must be a globe because it is exactly the way it is, and this is how it would be on our false model conception of how we imagine the flat Earth to work, and that is not the case. It doesn't work like that straw man model we conceived, so therefore it's a ball. And they do this all the time. They do this with the star rotations and all that nonsense as well. They try to do it. And now they do it with the horizon. So it's all just a religion of asserting that the Earth must be a globe because it is the way it is. And then back engineering what it would be like to them if it wasn't a globe and why that doesn't match reality. So, yeah, it is really just a religion of pure presupposition, isn't it?
Yeah, all they can do is beg the question.
I found it really absurd how the ballers really twist the definitions. For instance, level to them is is considered to be a curve. I mean, why? How dare you change and twist the definition when in fact the definition has to come from the external physical reality when we know level is flat, plane, straight. So by just a certain level means curve, it shows that only it comes within your mind. It's not physically, externally based knowledge. I don't understand.
They do it they do it to fix the issues that'll make the use of circumdicular geometry more easy. Because if they don't make level into curved, then suddenly water level just completely breaks the entire setup.
Also, their priests tell them that they don't have to work on the really is level. So when they're talking in terms of presuppositional datum points, they're not working on the really is level. They're referring to a conceptualization of a model to tell them where they stand in the first instance. They're not looking at the land and saying, at the really is level, what's going on? Well, I've got a plumb line here. They're saying, no, I'm pointing out of the globe at this angle when I look at this datum. So that's not working on the really is level, and they're told by their priests that that's perfectly acceptable to not work on the really is level.
It's not the only blatant contradiction in their view of the world. Just gas pressure without a container. Like it's obvious. You can't have it. It's the same thing.
Agreed.
Well, what model do you know that works on the really is level? If I got a model Porsche, is it going to sell for several $1,000s?
A model Porsche. Well, a model Porsche is still a model of a Porsche, as opposed to you reifying the model of the Porsche into an actual full-size, full-scale working Porsche. You've still got something physical to put your hands on, though. Whereas in the case of the heliocentric model, often we don't even get shown a model. They just tell us, well, you know what it is. It's in your mind there, wired somewhere, when I say heliocentric model. But to put it another way, Paul, if you were to start asserting that you did have a Porsche, because you've got a model Porsche, and when asked about it, you described how you could drive around it, and got us to conceptualise how you would be driving around it, that kind of nonsense mind game is what they do with the globe. They tell you how to imagine. Well, that's reification. But you wouldn't do that with your model Porsche, right? You understand at the really is level, it's just a scale model of a larger car that you haven't got.
I don't know
I
about
don't
you guys,
think that
but I
analogy
like
works,
getting
to be
into my
honest, does
little
it?
model
We've gone over
Porsche and
this
going to
before.
work.
Yeah, you can't go to work in your model Porsche. An example of a reification.
What if I work at a model job?
Model job making models.
Chocolate.
I don't know, man.
Chocolate. Quit reifying your Karma Gia into a Porsche.
Yes, sir. Again, Tim.
I said, quit reifying your Karma Gia into a Porsche.
Okay, so just for Vacuum's
Karma
benefit,
Gia.
we're just giving equivalent reifications. Do you know what a reification fallacy is, Vacuum?
Yes.
It's not gotcha. So what's the reification fallacy?
Are you testing me now?
No, it's not. It's not a gotcha. I'm not trying to catch you out or anything. I'm just establishing if you do or don't know. You don't have to say yes. If you don't, I'll just explain it. I'm not going to say ha ha ha. It's not like that. Do you know what a reification fallacy is?
I do know what one is. So yeah, you can go right into your point.
Well, what is it? Explain to me what a reification is.
No.
How do I know that you understand what it is then?
Why would I lie to you?
I'm not suggesting you do, but based on you saying yes, I understand what a
Well,
reification
I'm
is.
trying to save you some time, Nathan, and get to your point.
Well, the problem with this situation, though, is that you could say, yes, I understand what a reification fallacy is, and I just accept that you do. But in fact, you don't. Now, I could also just detail what a reification fallacy is, and then after I've detailed it, having said yes but not detailed it yourself, you claim that you understood it having had me detail it to you when you didn't. But you could just prove that you understand what it is by detailing it if you do know what it is.
Well, I'm not going to do that.
We'll just assume you don't know
I
what a
think
reification fallacy is. That's why you told us that it didn't seem like a fair example or a fair
If
comparison.
you really want me,
Someone who
if you
doesn't
really,
understand,
really want me to.
someone who doesn't understand what a reification fallacy is would say, as you did, that it's not a fair comparison to compare the reification of a model car into a full-size actual car and a model globe into a full-size actual globe. It is absolutely comparable, but I would only assume that someone who does not understand what a reification fallacy is would state such utter horseshit, like you did. Now, because you don't understand what a reification fallacy is, have claimed you do because you're a liar, and can't detail what one is, demonstrated by your claim that they weren't comparable, which they are as reification fallacies, it makes you a lying scumbag who's just pretending to know what this fallacy means, and just a liar, probably Googling it right as we speak. Ultimately speaking, you don't know, or you wouldn't have asked or declared that they're not comparable.
I can't believe you don't believe me that I know what a reification is.
Dumbo, don't you understand while you chuckle and snigger that you're getting told off for your lies and your demonstrated stupidity?
from a
chuckle away, stupid boy.
You don't
chuckle away,
you don't
moron.
believe me
You're getting
that I
told
know
off,
what a
moron. Chuckle
reification
away
is.
and talk through me, showing your lack of humility. You do not understand what a reification fallacy is, you stupid moron. That's why you are being told off by a flat earther, and your only defence to this is to talk through me and chuckle away like a stupid schoolboy. Now, stupid schoolboy, you wouldn't have declared they weren't comparable if you understood what this fallacy was. You do not. And you lied, claimed you did. You'd have detailed what it was if you did. You're just a lying scumbag. Now getting told off by a flat earther. That's what's happening. So, Vacuum, try not to pipe up and claim that things aren't comparable when you don't understand what the fallacy be detailed is. Just shut up, don't display your ignorance and have to get told off by a flat earther for not understanding what's being talked about. That's what's happened. You, the stupid idiot who opened his mouth and tried to look smart, claiming they weren't comparable, was shown to be stupid by a flat earther. By highlighting the fact that they were absolutely comparable reification fallacies, you just didn't know what that meant, you stupid moron. Now sit down, shut up.
Do you feel better?
Shut
now,
up,
Nathan?
you stupid moron. Do I need to sit you in the corner with a dunce hat on so you appreciate how stupid you have been?
I think you need a timeout.
I
Nathan.
think you need to sit in the corner with a dunce hat on. You don't know what a reification
Nathan,
fallacy is. Now shut up.
Okay. Nathan,
Okay,
go on.
shut up.
Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't mean continually affirm that you're going to shut up by not shutting up saying okay, you stupid moron. You don't seem to understand what shut up, you stupid moron actually means. It means I've taken the time to explain how stupid you are to a live audience, Now you're going to accept that you're stupid and don't know what reification is. You've interjected so that you seemed smart, but actually you're thick. Now, thicko, you're going to butt out of this conversation, you stupid retard. Sit in the corner with your dunce hat on and not offer any more of your stupidity while us smarter people talk about reification, something you don't understand and refuse to have explained because you're an arrogant prick who thinks he's smarter than he is. And rather than accept your own stupidity, having some humility and saying, actually, no, I don't know what reification is, you said yes, you stupid twat. You don't know what reification is, you're just a liar with no humility. And rather than saying, actually, no, I don't know what this word means, you said, yeah, I do, but I'm not going to actually explain it. You can move on with your point. You can stutter, you stupid bitch. Stutter for me. You're getting a verbal whipping from a flat earther for your lies and stupidity that have been highlighted 3 times. Now, I've given you the option and then taken it away. Now I'm demanding you sit down like the stupid dunce you are and stop interjecting with your stupidity, globehead retard.
I do know.
You stutter for me, bitch. Yeah? Sit in that corner, stutter, and if you keep talking, I'll take it to the point where you start crying. Okay? You stuttering buffoon. Shut up.
But I do know what a reification.
Yeah, you're going to get muted because all he's doing is literally rumpusing the Discord with his stuttering. Wanker! You're all thick like this guy. You think that you've got something to offer. You think you've got your intelligence with your gas bouncy balls and your second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth and your gas pressure without a container in 2 pipes. You think you're so smart. But when it comes down to it and we actually ask you to explain what a word like reification actually means, we get the stuttering, stammering buffoonery like we get from this retard. Now, it doesn't matter how much we tell them off for their stupidity. It doesn't matter how much we point out their stupidity. It doesn't matter how much we detail to them how stupid they have been. They still think that they need to stand on top of a table and cause disruption, when in reality they need to grow a pair, sit their ass down and accept their own stupidity. They can't. They don't have humility. Well, wasn't that fun?
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I was hoping you heard him interject and say it was a misused analogy. I don't know if you heard him or not, but yeah.
His original interjection with his abject stupidity was to say that it's not fair to compare the reification fallacy that is globe Earth to the reification potential of a model of a car with a real car. They're absolutely comparable if you reify you having a Porsche when you've only got a scale model, and you talk about driving around it and ask your opponent to conceptualize you in a real Porsche. That's reification. Just like imagining that you're stood on a spherical surface when that's a model. Absolutely comparable. He just didn't know what the word meant and said, yeah, I know, but don't challenge me to actually define it. The fallacy of misplaced concretedness, mistaking something that is an abstract idea for something that is real. Now, I didn't need to look it up. I know what it means. Just surrounded by liars. Anywho, so the globe is a model. And if you want to treat that model as a reality, then you are guilty of a fallacy called reification, mistaking the map for the terrain. I do live these uncomfortable silences.
Where did they go?
Yeah, where is everybody?
Oh, I kicked him out. He was just stuttering, going, I, through the Discord server, so no one could hear anything.
A comfortable food. There's no curvature. I'm good.
Me too, I've got my feet up. Some shuffling on Discord, take a few people off mute. Hello, newbies in Discord, Dan and Mole Man.
Oh, sorry, can't speak. It just came to a barbecue.
Heading to a barbecue. Lovely.
Yeah.
To listen to him.
Shout out to Cleary. Says the Earth really is level. Right on.
But level to a baller is curves.
Yeah, if you reify the model before you do anything.
Until they have their house built, and then they snap to the really is level. I mean,
Pick up.
You know, if their foundation wasn't level.
Hank, he's just really quiet. Certainly had a funny pace to it today, this show.
Yeah, it's not like it's the only one. Since the Black Swan, I've noticed a few like this. I mean, initially they came in trying to debunk it. And they all got wiped out. Because it's the very thing that they told us.
They ended up debunking themselves.
Yeah, because it's the very thing that they said block the bottom of things. Now they can't say it anymore.
Yeah, because they voluntarily chose to say, we don't see it. Huh? you don't see the thing you told us you've been seeing for 5 years? That's weird.
Shout out to Unitox Femi, who says, any book studies of reflection of horizon. Thank you for the super chat.
You know what's interesting is everyone knows as you get further away from something, the angular resolution kicks in, compression, all that stuff, vanishing point. Artists know this when they're in school learning about perspective. But everybody knows that the closer you get to a mountain, the bigger it looks. The further you're away, it's lower than the telephone pole right in front of you. How in the world do they not get this?
Because in their maths, as they move that mountain to the further right-hand edges of the page, they'll ask you how the feet and inches value has been obscured. In other words, it doesn't matter if you're right next to the mountain or the mountain's 1,000 miles away, it'll always be a 1,000-foot mountain, and they'll be asking you how 150 feet of the 1,000-foot mountain's missing, even though, as you put it, it's got smaller with distance. The angular relationship has changed, but that's excluded when you put it side on in Muppet Vision. Same reason they think there'd be no horizon if you got rid of their presupposition that you've got a physical edge blocking things in the distance.
So, can you hear
Hey,
me?
Brian.
Yeah.
Go,
Hey,
Hank.
Nathan. Hey,
Go,
everyone.
Hank. Go, Hank. Go.
Just wanted to say that when you tell this to an they do get it, but you're not dealing with
Oh, you're just too quiet.
Yeah, these aren't normal people. They're just, religious zealots like you say, or fundamentalists. Because when you tell a normal person, you don't have to be an.
Isn't it that he's 70 dB down? I can't hear him.
Hank, did you get trapped at the bottom of Aristophanes' well?
At least you got the rhetoric right, Chocolate.
Yeah. Can never tell, right? Is it sticks in the ground, shadows from a well? I mean, Scooby Doo. I mean, it might as well be whatever the hell, man. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, his own shadow, it's nonsense.
His own shadow.
Yeah.
Moon shadow.
Yeah, exactly. Moon shadow.
moon shadow that's from a stellium or something, that where the shadows being refracted, which is what I'm hearing now. Shadows can be refracted. How do you refract the absence of light?
What was the
What?
communications like back then? Was the cell phone coverage pretty good back then? How did they communicate?
Exactly.
No, they used pigeons back then. And that was pretty
carrier
reliable.
pigeons.
But it does take days.
But did the pigeons correct for the Coriolis?
Did they
Like, they
seem like
fly
they were
level,
drifting from
so
the
that
ground,
means
those
curve.
pigeons?
But when I was on Jose's and George Netchuk and then Jesse Kozlowski came in after my presentation the other day, the main argument that they had, especially Jesse Kozlowski, was that latitude and longitude is older than Cartesian coordinates. So that proves the globe. But latitude and longitude, I didn't get a chance to speak, but because Jose wouldn't leave me, but latitude and longitude is supposed to have been derived by Eratosthenes, okay? But there's also a guy called Hipparchus who's supposed to have done it about 200 years later, or maybe just improved on Eratosthenes. But the problem they have is the oldest known globe is from 1492, right? Whereas Eratosthenes and Hipparchus are from BC times. You know, so it's like the stories aren't matching because latitude and longitude is based on a particular radius value, you know, and the radius value itself didn't supposedly turn up until the 11th century. So there's a bit of a mixed up story, really, isn't it?
Oh yeah, the whole lot is convoluted nonsense. But they just pick and choose which parts of the story and which timelines might best suit an argument. It's all stories though, right? This is just a story about a dude and a claim that utilises a presupposition. Well, you can pick apart the actual claim being made within the story. The actual... Yeah, it's interesting to even claim that the guy was even real. It's like, let's see all the primary source information that he was even in existence. But does that really defeat his argument? Who cares? Just pull apart the claim that he's supposed to have been making.
Yeah, there's stories of the first thing I like. One of the main things I would like arguments against all that is like, well, show me all the Greek globes then. You know, if it's from back in those times and the globes from before that, there isn't any. You know, it's all stories. Exactly, it's just little stories. You know, even 1492 is suspect because the oldest known globe is supposedly from 1492. When I looked at that in 2016, do you remember the footballs from the World War kind of II era where they were like these leather, dark brown tan leather things that were stitched together?
I do.
Well, the soccer balls, for the Americans on the panel, they were. The globe looked like one of those. This one in 2016 that had some patchwork on it. You know, like thin leather kind of stitched onto it that looked like America, and there's everything that kind of looked like Europe and Africa and all this. Then, if you look at it now, it's a very intricate looking, fantastic looking thing that would be probably look like an antique, super antique globe that would be worth, you know, phenomenal cash made by some expert cartographer. But they still claimed in both times that it was claimed in 2016 and it's claimed now it was done by this German cartographer. When I looked in 2016, there was some information there wasn't a whole lot. Now there's loads of information about this guy, and it's a fantastic looking thing. It's like it doesn't matter. You're trying to claim it came from 1492. Also Columbus supposedly discovered the Americas in 1492. We know that's a lie. So your globe is very likely another 1492 lie, you know what I mean?
Right. Did you see the video of the Mapper Monday at Hereford Cathedral?
Yeah, you did a thing on that, didn't you? Before it was from you, I think I saw that originally, or maybe I saw it before that. I'm not sure, but I remember you pointing that out.
Well, it was just very, very early days, and Martin Leaker pointed out, Mappy Martin, back before he was Flat Earth British, was like, yeah, there's a Flat Earth map. It's hanging up in Hereford Cathedral. Do you want to go? I was like, yeah, I'll arrange it as a meetup. So I did all the publicity, you know, obviously let everybody know when it was going to be and effectively sent out invites. And then, you know, it was great. One person arrived. One dude. And me and Martin and my wife, who was pregnant. And we wandered around and had a look at Hereford Cathedral and then went in and had a look at the map on Monday. But it's a flat earth map. It's on a cowhide stretched out on the wall. It's massive. Great big thing. Very funky. Yeah, I've got video on it.
What year is it from?
Well, that would be a different question. What do they claim it's from? Is it authentic? Etc. 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 All the details of what it's claimed to be and how old it's claimed to be are all in that video. I can't remember off the top of my head, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I'll have a look later on. I'll have a look later on at that because I'm interested to see what year that's claimed to be. Because if you look at people like Aristophanes and people like what's his name, Galileo, there's so many things attributed to these people that just kind of happen to fall into their timeline. But when you look into the details of it, it's obviously, you know, like it's obvious that that all these things couldn't have taken place at that point because there's too much contradicting evidence from 30, 40 years beforehand, 200 years afterwards, you know, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a whole bunch of contradictory timelines. I can't agree more. With that, I'm going to say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you're watching this live on Nathan Oakley 1980, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panel for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on either Premiering stream. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
It could have been him. Could have been him actually. Yeah, could have been.
It's one of those It's one of those statements
I think it was him. Yeah.
Do you remember how it went?
Not exactly, but I'm pretty sure it was him. Yeah. I don't remember how he said it, but it was almost like he just completely disregarded that people used to think it was flat.
Exactly. It was the opposite of what everyone knows, actually, and he changed it. He said for thousands of years, everyone knew the Earth was a globe. When it's actually the opposite way.
Yeah, I mean, it's less than 100 years ago that they were still teaching flat Earth in schools in different parts of the world.
Right.
You know, it's less than 100 years ago. So, you know, it's all, you know, as Nathan says, like the timelines are, you know, they're always just stories. Just
I don't want to be pedantic, but I wouldn't say less than 100 years. So I interviewed my grandmother when she was about 100 about this exact thing, and she was taught globe in school when she was a very, very small child. So, you know, as far as she could ever remember, it was always being taught as globe. So that was within 100 years. You know, it's now 110 years, but you know what I mean? I'm just saying within her lifetime, that's definitely within a 100-year time frame, she was being taught. Now, that's not to say that in other parts of the world, at the same exact time, people weren't being taught the older rhetoric, which was still in existence. And there's certainly sort of films from the 50s and maybe 40s that seem to imply that, you know, that imply that back out in the sticks, out in the Americas, people were being taught about it's flat, and then people come along going, actually, you know, do realise it's a sphere. In other words, there was a transitional period, or so it seems, about 100 years ago. But in the developed Western world, it seems, no, definitely for longer than at least 100 years, it's been taught as a globe.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I got a question for you.
Sorry, go on,
No, I was going to say,
Um,
I've seen the newspaper
Sorry.
and books dated, like Nathan said, in some areas they were still teaching it, in others they probably weren't. But the whole point is they mock the whole subject by saying, in the past, ancient man thought the earth was flat. Now, how can Brian Cox come over here and say the exact opposite of that?
Are you forgetting the ways of doublethink?
Grasshopper.
So I just wanted to say real fast, back when I was still doing YouTube, I had recorded a couple of 80-year-old, a couple, and they were farmers, and I asked them if they remember the flat earth debate in their lifetime, and they said, oh yeah, of course. And I asked them, about when did it end, and they said, oh, about the time of the moon landing, that's when the flat earth debate, pretty much stopped. And I want to point out, during this time in America, I don't know about the rest of the world, they had these things called mental asylums. And if you were deemed to be crazy, they would just, lock you away, electroshock therapy, or lobotomize you if you wouldn't, conform. So basically, I think that's what happened. Anybody that, disagreed, they were pretty much lobotomized. And, you might think, well, how could that happen? Well, they did it to Kennedy's sister. So if they could do it to the president's sister, and I'm not saying she was a flat earther, she was allegedly sneaking out at night with boys. But yeah, if they could do that to the president's sister, I mean, surely they could do it to a couple of farmers who were having a disagreement.
I see. So it's forced attrition? But no.
I think so, because, yeah, I mean, we know what the crazy is. If you look back into the asylums, it was basically anybody who was deemed to be crazy. And what's crazy? People that are not conforming to what everybody else thinks, right? I mean, don't people think that anarchists are crazy? And all anarchists think is that there should be no rulers? That's,
yeah, it's certainly the default position.
Concept.
Yeah, it's the default position with anybody who believes the earth is flat because it isn't the current rhetoric. Well, those people are immediately painted as archaic in their mentality. It's like, well, even in the wiki entry underneath all these videos, it'll say words to the effect of, the flat earth model was an archaic way of conceptualizing the world. Now, in many ways, I'd agree. Models are pseudoscience. They are merely conceptualizations, regardless of if it's a flat earth model or a globe model. But their wording is to say that it's an archaic way of seeing the world. In other words, these people are like Stone Age mentality. It leaves you with that impression.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because, a lot of people... Go ahead, bro.
Don't think anybody was talking. But we can hear you nice and clearly now. Wonderful. Or maybe he was talking to somebody that was around him. Go ahead, bro. Can I have some fries with it too?
Well, let me catch up with what I was trying to say then with that fries. So the current rhetoric is globe, and you got people with degrees and PhDs and everybody else spouting it out. Like you say, it's the default position. So why do people resist coming out and really saying what they feel or believe based on their personal experience on this earth? Because they're afraid of the ridicule. So I think we covered this on a past show. More people would be speaking about things if they weren't afraid of being castricized and ridiculed. And this is, I think, what this guy is saying, is that if the current flow for the masses is this, and you stand over here opposite or a little bit different than that, expect a lot of ridicule, made fun of, you're archaic, you're stupid. And what type of person will stand against that? Well, it's the people on the show, people like us, people who want truth, who are not afraid of that.
Yeah, you struck the nail on the head at the end. The people who aren't afraid, the people who aren't going to be perpetually tormented by the claimed fear we should be under. We should be so scared. And I've had it from globeheads. They've asked me, aren't you afraid that the Illuminati are going to come around and get you? It's like, no, but you are. Way to project what you're worried about onto me.
Mic check.
I have never even thought that thought.
Yeah, I hear you, bro. Can anybody else hear the guy saying mic check?
No.
Yeah, hear you.
Nathan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hello?
I just stepped away for a second. Yes, sorry.
Okay, sure. A couple of times in your show, I've heard you mention the Freemasons might be perpetrating this globe. What evidence do you have of that?
When did I say that? Certainly not recently.
No, not
I got
recently.
evidence.
But I've been watching your show for quite a while now, and I've heard you mention it a couple times.
Well, okay. I've interviewed people about it because it's been put out there as an idea. So what I've done is interviewed people who have a better understanding about that subject in terms of how the globe lie has been perpetrated. Now, in my humble opinion, the person who had the best documented timeline for what seemed to be the whys and wherefores of how we got to a position where we're standing on a sphere, with that being the rhetoric, was Johnny Cerrucci. So if you go and watch his show and his interview... Now, I'm not saying I stand by everything he said, or that I've fact-checked anything. I haven't. But I've listened to lots and lots of people who give me lots and lots of stories about the whys and wherefores of the they of the globe lie. Now, with all that in consideration, my current standpoint on who they, in this case you're asking, how did the Freemasons lie about the globe? Am I correct in what you're asking, first of all?
Sort of. I just want to reiterate, it's why do you think that they are behind it?
Okay, I don't. And if I've given that impression before, my current standpoint is this. The people who perpetuate the globe lie are us. You, me, anybody else in this room.
I would have to agree with you.
Now, does that mean
Can I
that...
give my evidence now?
Say again, Hank?
Yeah, I wanted to give my evidence that the Masons know.
Go ahead.
Perpetuating.
Yeah, feel free.
Okay, so I'm a part of this other group. It's kind of a normie group, but they do conspiracy theories. And they had a Mason come on one day, and he, gave an interview. So he was a third-degree Mason. So he's just getting started out in his career or whatever. And everybody asked him questions. And at the end, kind of off the record, I said, "Hey, man, let me know when you figure out that the Earth is flat." And he laughed. And he said, quote, "The old men say funny things sometimes. One old guy whispered in my ear that the Earth was flat." And I was like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yeah." And then another time, the what I guess accountant or record keeper, I'm not really sure which word he used. He told me that the Earth was flat. So two people in a Masonic lodge told this young Mason that the Earth was flat.
Yeah, I had heard a similar story from Chris Monk, ex-Freemason. He said that while he was talking to his lodge master, he described the function of satellites, and the lodge master laughed and said, "Yeah, if you believe that," in specific reference to Earth being spherical. Now, in discussion with me and Anthony Riley, he said at the time it was said to me, and I didn't decrypt what he meant by that. But he just chuckled when I described the Earth being a sphere and a spherical aspect, specifically orbits. Now, that particular lodge master didn't directly say to him, "The Earth's not a sphere, don't be silly." He just said, "Yeah, if you believe that." And then left it vague. But it's a similar sort of thing. You know, the what's the word? The occultation of the real nature of reality is just an element of a controlled structure that is utilised by various different groups that may snigger because they know the actual truth. But if you were to ask them about the sphericity of Earth, they'd absolutely, without a beat being missed, say it is a sphere. Because they would know better than to find themselves in the position we're in, being ridiculed. Right? But it doesn't mean that they don't understand implicitly that it's a philosophy. They do.
Yep, I 100% agree with you. I've read some text of the Freemasons, and if you look into it, they undoubtedly admit that it's flat, but you have to read between the lines.
Exactly.
Because they are what you call, obviously Masons by trade originally, and they use levels, plumb rules, the rest of it that undoubtedly prove Earth is flat. So you do have to read between the lines.
Can you imagine Zanuck going up to a Mason in the middle of building a school or a courthouse somewhere and trying to explain to a stonemason or Freemason what level means according to Zanuck? Like, he would be like removed from the work site and laughed out loud. I mean, just get this guy out of here. Level means curve. We're not making no curve foundations around here, Zanuck.
Yeah, that's funny. Just full disclosure, I'm actually from Bermuda. I don't know if anybody knows that little island in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And I have a 360-degree viewpoint of the ocean. And I've never seen a curve. Just want to put that out there.
Yeah, we hear funny things about Bermuda. A lot of us think that there's a lot of military activity going down there. And that's why they kind of have this, legend. Can you confirm or deny the military activity?
I can confirm in the early 1800s there was, but there are none today. Zero.
So the military avoids the area, or
Somehow
they
I
just don't
doubt
have
that.
any? So you do see military, but there's no bases, there's no, ongoing activity.
No, Bermuda has gotten all their baseland back from Canada and the United States, and there are no military activity whatsoever.
Sounds like I need to move to Bermuda.
But you know what's funny about Bermuda is airport was built purposely at the third longest in the world to accommodate a shuttle in the event it had to make an emergency landing. Can you believe that?
Yeah,
Well,
that's
maybe.
interesting.
Aren't there
'Cause the
supposedly
water,
a lot of weird electromagnetic activities going on that haven't been properly explained over there? A lot of planes crashing and stuff.
Yeah, correct. There is electromagnetic activity that has not been explained.
That's correct.
But
It's on
now-
the map. The map that's part of the
Nowadays-
Flat Earth Debate
sorry.
logo, if you look, is the quadrupole magnetic layout on an azimuthal equidistant projection. That's a bloody mouthful. But if you look where Bermuda lies, it's in a hotspot of magnetic anomalies. So people getting lost in that area kind of makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It was basically down to a compass not being able to function in that area. But nowadays you have technology that overrides that that fluctuation in magnetic field, and therefore you won't get lost anymore.
Right, they apply their
Well, they
declination to
were-
their gyroscopic compasses. They set them and then they work out the declination and they don't get lost. Whereas if you're just relying on a magnetic compass, you're going to think you're going one way when you're going a completely opposite direction. If you're in that sort of magnetic mess, there's no other word to describe it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They use gyro compasses now, which use gyroscopes.
Yeah, exactly.
And gyro compasses prove a globe. Sorry, I have to say that. That's another one.
Well, a load of crap.
Hey, yeah.
I like that when people come in and go 15 degrees an hour. It's another one like P waves and S waves. They just say 15 degrees an hour. You're like,
Yeah,
what?
but not before 2016, 2017. What was?
What, before it made its way onto semi-national TV?
Not before Bob. Bob.
Oh man, I managed to say that without
Bro.
mentioning Bob.
That was funny because that Glober said Bob proved, and that was like, oh my god, Bob proved the rotation of the.
Yeah, but in 2020, the assertion is, oh right, so Earth turns underneath that gyroscope at 15 degrees an hour, and underneath the ball that Neil deGrasse Tyson said went through the goal, because Earth turned underneath the ball. So Earth's turning underneath aeroplanes.
Yeah, you have then atmosphere is turning together with the.
It's not Coriolis effect. Coriolis effect, the assertion that we have proof Earth spinning in the form of Coriolis effect. The gyro
But
is demonstrating...
Can you imagine?
a 15-degree deviation of Coriolis effect. That deviation is a not actual 15 degrees an hour deflection. So the gyroscope or pendulum, they're not actually drifting. Earth is turning underneath a fixed frame of reference. The gyro's just spinning in fixed space. That's what it does. But the deviation is because it's not actually moving out of position. Earth's turning underneath. That's the claim. It's a Coriolis effect claim, this gyroscope claim. Well, if Earth's turning underneath a gyro and a football or a bullet, as is claimed to prove Earth spins, then it turns underneath an aeroplane. And Coriolis effect is an observation of the plane seeming to take a curved trajectory, if I could say the word, because Earth's turning underneath it. So to have Coriolis effect as claimed, you're going to look up at an aeroplane and say, that plane seems to be curving. It's not. It's travelling in a straight line. It's just because I'm on a spinning Earth turning underneath it that it seems to curve. Of course, me observing this curve of this plane in the air with Earth turning underneath would shorten the flight time of the aeroplane for me to observe Coriolis effect. Because to have Coriolis effect is to observe it from the spinning frame of reference. So if Earth's claimed to be said spinning frame of reference and we're observing Coriolis, we've got to be on the spinning reference frame looking at something not attached to it. That's what Coriolis is. So if I'm looking at a ball or a bullet or a gyro or a pendulum or an aeroplane, and I'm experiencing Coriolis effect, it's the effect of me turning underneath it. Simple as. Well, me turning underneath an aeroplane shortens its flight times, and that doesn't happen. So we're not turning underneath stuff. We don't have Coriolis effect.
Not according to Bob.
According to Bob, that Earth is turning underneath the gyro at 15 degrees an hour. Well, if it's turning underneath the gyro, it's turning underneath a drone, it's turning underneath a hot air balloon, it's turning underneath a helicopter, it's turning underneath an aeroplane, it's turning underneath a bullet, it's turning underneath a ball, it's turning underneath a pendulum. It's turning underneath anything that's not attached to it. So for that to be true, we'd look up at planes and see them seem to curve because Earth's turning underneath at 15 degrees an hour. Because they're not attached to it. Of course, that would shorten flight times.
Well, sorry.
No, that's it. That's the conclusion. That would shorten flight times. For us to observe Coriolis effect, we'd have to have flight times reduced when travelling west because Earth's turning underneath the plane. For us to look up and go, oh, it looks like it's curving. Now, it's not actually curving. I'm just turning underneath it on this claim to be spinning Earth, watching it seem to drift. Because Earth's turning underneath it, shortening its flight time. What's that? You say the flight time isn't reduced? Oh, well, then we don't have Coriolis effect. It's not seeming to curve because Earth's turning underneath, if it's not shortening the flight time with Earth turning underneath, because Earth isn't turning underneath. What's that? Earth is travelling with begging the question of Earth spinning with the atmosphere. Well, that's nothing to do with Coriolis. Because for me to see Coriolis, it needs to be separate reference frames, and me seeing the plane seem to drift.
Yeah, but what about with the atmosphere towards with the Earth?
Well, that wouldn't give you Coriolis effect, and that's the thing that's claimed to prove Earth spins.
My arguments have been defeated.
well, Brian, you've
My
got,
question is this: is that gyro old thing or it's new thing?
Is it what? Or what?
Is it that gyro? Is that old machine, like 30, 40 years or 20 years, or it's like from 2 years old? That's what Bob used.
You're saying, is it from the Back to the Future era, or did they make it in the last couple of years?
In a sense, Nathan, how you can you have like for example 1995, and we know that Earth is rotating. Okay, we know. Now it's 2001. We know that, but now it's 2016. Nothing. We know that it's rotating. It's debating. It's rotating. But 2018 we have gyro, and that's proving, and that flat Earth is proving that Earth is rotating. That's totally absurd.
Yeah, that was just the spin that Netflix put on Bob's misapprehensions and misunderstanding about what the gyro is actually demonstrating. That would be Coriolis deviation. 15 degrees, not actual deflection.
I understand that, but how you can say, for example, look, Bob, Bob, whoever, it could be you, Nathan. Nathan discovered 2018 that Earth is moving. Fucking shit. We need to put Bob in the books, not only a movie. He need to. The kids need to learn about him because he proved the rotation of the Earth. Nobody else before.
Nah, he applied a principle that was claimed to be demonstrable by Foucault. So no, it's not that his affirmation is just noteworthy by way of spin for Netflix because he's a flat earther. But that doesn't mean that in 2018 suddenly we're in a position where we're having a flat earther actually prove it for the first time. No, he's just demonstrating or under the misapprehension that his utilization of an optical gyroscope and his claimed observation of a drift at 15 degrees an hour, that would be Earth turning underneath the fixed optical frame of that gyro, proves Earth spins. But by the fact that having the Earth claimed to be turning underneath a fixed frame of a gyro, i.e. something not attached to the spinning frame of reference that is Earth spinning, would necessitate us having Coriolis effect, i.e. me on a spinning reference frame right now, looking up at stuff that's not attached and seeing it seem to drift. Now, we don't, number one, see that happen, and number two, if we did, flight times would be reduced, drones would drift away from you, hot air balloons would go up in the air and have a continent come to them. None of those things occur, but that's what you would need to have occur to observe Coriolis drift. That would be me looking up at the sky, because all Coriolis is described from the reference frame that's spinning, me on the spinning claim to be spinning Earth, looking up at the sky, going, oh, look, that balloon seems to curve. Now, it's actually just completely stationary. The guy in the balloon's like, look, we're not moving at all now, we're just going to hover where we are. But from my vantage point, spinning underneath it, it looks like it's curving away from me. But that means that the continent is travelling towards it as it's stationary, but that never happens. Now, we don't experience Coriolis effect, therefore Earth is definitely not spinning. We must have that Coriolis effect if Earth was spinning, and we claim to have Coriolis effect because Earth's spinning. We just don't.
Yeah, but it shows the predictive. Sorry, I just want to say it shows the predictive quality of the model, Nathan, because they knew due to the model predicting it that it was rotating, and in 2018, Bob proved it.
Yeah, but their prediction wasn't a scientific prediction; it was a just so story claimed to be validated with a contradiction that leaves planes with shortened flight times, and that doesn't occur. For us to have the 15 degrees claimed to be shown by Bob's gyro, it's not even Bob's gyro, we'd have to have Earth rotating underneath, two reference frames, Coriolis effect. That's what the gyros claim to show, Coriolis deviation at 15 degrees an hour. Therefore we've got Coriolis effect on Earth, right? Well, I look out the window and see a plane deviating because it's not attached, like the gyro. Oh, right. It's not. Why is that? Oh, Earth's travelling with the atmosphere. Well, then we haven't got Coriolis effect. Because I wouldn't look up in the sky and see something that's not attached to my rotating reference frame that's claimed to be a spinning Earth, drifting away as it's not attached. That's what Coriolis is. Earth doesn't have that effect. If we did, flight times would be reduced as they travelled west.
Well, we know the atmosphere is not attached to the Earth because Neil deGrasse Tyson said the football was affected. So Neil deGrasse just threw that atmosphere Velcro attached to the Earth nonsense right down the drain when he talked about the Cincinnati game.
That Neil is wrong.
What?
You have Rumpus who is saying Neil deGrasse is wrong.
Who cares?
Sure. Neil deGrasse actually explained what real Coriolis would do.
Yeah. Neil deGrasse Tyson's correct in the
I know
rhetoric.
what you're saying. Who cares? That's true, yeah.
Who cares that Rumpus says he's wrong? The fact that Neil deGrasse Tyson's asserting the actual rhetoric of Earth-based Coriolis accurately, and we can debunk that assertion because his assertion, Neil deGrasse Tyson's assertion, that from the stands, the ball seems to curve through the goal, but that curving ball is actually an effect of the Earth turning underneath the ball, seeming to curve as you watch it from the stand. Well, you can also angle your head up from the stand and watch an aeroplane that's not attached seem to curve. Well, if it's doing the same exact thing described by the ball, which it must because it's not attached to Earth, then its flight time's reduced. Now, that effect is not observed. Therefore, the assertion with the 2-second hang time of the ball used by Neil deGrasse Tyson to claim we've got a Coriolis deviation that you can observe from the stand would necessitate shortened flight times, and we don't have them. Therefore, debunking his 2-second hang time with the ball and the bullet, which is also another example. Oh yeah, Earth turns under the bullet. Well, if it turns under the bullet, for us to see it seem to curve, then it turns underneath the plane, for us to see it seem to curve, and that would reduce flight times. And it doesn't. So we don't have an Earth turning underneath anything.
You will see Coriolis first with the clouds, for sure. You don't need even aeroplane.
Yeah, you could just jump up and down. Apparently, 15 degrees an hour deviation would happen underneath you.
I think you just don't understand the model, Nathan. That's what the problem is. I'm not going to concede that any of my arguments were obliterated there.
Yeah, they've used their weaknesses as strengths. They don't have a physical geometric sphere edge horizon, so they demand that flat earthers show us their edge. The globers demand that flat earthers show the globers the flat earth edge. Where's your edge? Why? Because they don't have a geometric physical sphere edge for a horizon, and they absolutely require one to assert that it's blocking boats and buildings. So they use their weakest part of that argument and ask us for our edge. Right? Moving on.
Exactly.
We haven't got gas pressure unless we have containment. You can't form gas pressure unless the gas has got something to press on. So what do we get asked? We get asked for our dome. Well, show us the dome. What are you talking about? We've got to have something containing the gas. Otherwise we'd all be dead. It would fill the vacuum of the sky. Show us the dome. Because it's the weakest ass part of their argument. Their sky vacuum and space, a whole part of their narrative, is a violation of natural law. So they take their weakest argument and put it upon us to prove something nonsensical like a dome.
I know, when for example, guy said, only what you did, you debunked R. Oh my God. What that mean? And people were saying, okay, show me the map of the flat earth. Why I need to show you the map of the flat earth if it's not a curve? Show me what is going on first, and then we will explore and see what is going on.
Yeah. They don't have a model. We're not being shown models. We've asked for the last few years to actually show us the model, and we're told to imagine it. We know what it looks like in our brains. To reify some nonsense that doesn't exist as a physical model to be demonstrated to us, and it never will be. But yeah, we're challenged to provide a model. It's just take the weakest ass part of your argument and put your opponent to challenge to prove their aspect of your weakest part of your argument, and then just put them to task on it. What's that you say? It's a really weak part of the globe argument to assert the horizons a physical sphere edge because it's not physical and moves with the bloody weather. Well, challenge the flat earthers to provide us with their edge.
I always say that.
Go, Chocolate, go, go. Go, Chocolate, go.
He lost signal.
He'll come back in a second ago, and that's what I'm talking about.
Well, isn't it interesting how the Coriolis nonsense mirrors the gravity nonsense? So things fall, go boom, boom. They put a label on it, gravity. They apply force, which later they say it's not a force. And, you say, how's the waters in the oceans kept on the spinning globe? Gravity, 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 gravity. Then when we ask them why it doesn't work with a helium balloon, it just falls apart. And so now with Coriolis, it's the same thing. They're saying the Earth is spinning, non-inertial, inertial, blah, blah, blah. And then you say, well, if it is, then how come flights aren't shortened? Okay, so they both die real quick deaths because all they did was assign a word to their model and reification, and something that could be explained by other means. They decide to explain this way because this asserts we're on the globe spinning.
Right. Although today's show's been a really strange pace, it's been very informative.
Yeah. Take what you can get.
I have a Black Swan. I got one. I got more than one. But I definitely have one.
Are you chasing it around the kitchen?
Sorry, Nathan, I missed that last part.
Are you chasing it around the kitchen? Is that what that clapping sound is?
Can't hear you. Sorry, for some reason.
Are you chasing the black swans around your kitchen? I can just hear you getting faded away and then clapping like you're chasing a bird around.
Sorry, no, that wasn't me. No, sorry. I had to get out of where I was. No, I got a couple of black swans.
Now you got Rumpus by Neil. You've got a black swan, I heard.
Yes, I got more than one.
Tell us more. We're on tenterhooks.
Well, there's one. The first one I got. It's a sailboat, and I have its coordinates and its position and my elevation and the horizon and other things behind it. So I have all that information. And there's other ones I got, which were fishing boats, and their coordinates and their position, their distance from land. I have all that. Their distance away from me. The same with the sailboat. I just have to get the data just to properly confirm the whole lot, which I have, which I know where to get that anyway. So it should be watertight. The first one was from, I think it was an 11 foot, maybe 11 or 13 foot. I'd have to check exactly. Viewer height. The boat is almost 10 miles away from me, the sailing boat. And the horizon is way past that. And there's islands that I'm looking at the shore of that's 14 miles away.
Cool. Where have you posted them? Or haven't you?
No, I haven't posted anything yet. I want to make sure. That's why I'm saying it on the after show. I just want to get the relevant data that I need to make sure that I have it watertight, because I'm using the position of the boat and the time it was there and different things like that. So I just want to make sure I get, because they're smaller boats, sometimes some of the data that you need to get is not as precise as you get for some of the bigger boats. For some reason, I don't know why.
Sure, it depends on the proportions, right, between the horizon and these boats. I mean, I've seen Dean Wright. Have you seen his video where he did the same thing?
No, I haven't, no.
He knows these boats, because obviously it's in his local area, I assume, and he's just plotting out where they go. He's like, this is the distance this boat goes, and then he shows you his footage, and he's like, that's the path of the boat, this is the distance of that boat, and the horizon's beyond it. Black swan. Game over. But it's obviously, I don't know if this is done from an area that you know well or what, but you've got to obviously figure out which path the boat's taking to call it a black swan, and if you don't, it's not worth talking about until you do, right?
Yeah, exactly. You have to have the correct information. Yeah.
Right, because it's just embarrassing, and we are held to a much higher standard than the fundies that oppose us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'll go through QE with first, and he'll decide whether it's watertight enough or not. So.
Fair enough. It's always worth getting someone else to double check.
Yeah.
Well, I know. If you go to Rumpus, he'll say it's a glitch in the matrix.
We got a note on which show that was.
That was the one that Anthony and Ranty had like a 2-hour after show with him, where right around the beginning of the whole Black Swan, I recall, somewhere around that time frame. It was so funny. Well, okay, if that picture is real, then it's a glitch in the matrix.
Madness. That's why I said to the guy in Discord earlier, it doesn't matter what Rumpus says. He's a faceless, nameless, lying troll. He can say whatever he likes. Neil deGrasse Tyson, however, is a national public figure, heliocentric priest, and when he spouts the rhetoric, he's got to get it right. He is, Neil deGrasse Tyson's in line with what heliocentric priesthood says is Coriolis and is applicable to Earth, but we can debunk it. So therefore, Neil deGrasse Tyson's poo-pooed by the people who come to the trenches. Well, obviously, he's not right. Oh, right. That's why he's a priest of heliocentrism held up as an icon. No, he's got the right rhetoric. We can just debunk it. because if the Earth's turning underneath the football, it also turns underneath the aeroplane, and that would shorten flight times.
Well, Neil deGrasse Tyson has a masterclass, and Rumpus also said that when he's walking on the equator, he experiences Coriolis.
He also said the second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth. He's a moron.
Which is why he doesn't have a masterclass.
Also why I just don't welcome him here anymore. He's so full of shit. It's just not tolerable anymore. Now we've exposed that nonsense over and over again. What use does he have here? The answer is none.
Most of these people just have a totally innate understanding of their own actual model, and that's why a lot of them don't actually even agree with what a lot of the PhDs say. They won't even accept gravity is not seen as a force. It's only seen as an effect. They won't even accept that much. They're constantly in opposition, aren't they? Come on.
No, Brian, I was going to say before you came in, the show started with manure, and as Nathan segued there with Rumpus, it ended with manure.
Yeah, they just have this constant fight back against us. We're literally telling them what their model is, and we're debunking it. And they're coming back at us with stuff that's about their model that has they couldn't back it up. If they had to back it up mainstream, they couldn't back it up.
Well, that's exactly all we have to do is just go to their experts. Like, for example, the Association of American Geographers talking about mapping sciences, where they say we got to embrace the fiction in our science and use the word fictitious. And he says, normally when you're doing the kind of stuff we're doing, we're only dealing in nonfiction, but you got to embrace the fiction in your science. Now, when we quote that and show that and cite it, they argue with it, but they're actually arguing with their own people.
Which they can and do at trench level, because the people who are doing it aren't of any influence other than on us and our audiences.
Right.
Damage limitation. That's all they are.
They're just blockages. They're just in our way. They're just basically been getting in our way for 5 years, stopping us getting to the PhDs. They are all the people that are in the way of between us actually publicly getting to speak to these PhDs. In universities and places.
Yeah, I agree.
And bring us around in circle after circle after circle, and that's all they do. They'll change their story, they'll bring back up old arguments, anything to stop us getting into those universities and confronting these pseudoscientist people.
Exactly.
Well,
So if you can go back to 2015 assertions that you've got a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon blocking boats and buildings, and bring the question back to the old 2015 ways without us going, hello, we've debunked your model. They just literally stick their head in the sand and hope that the next few months will ride out and it will fade away without people actually recognising the argument, as long as though we've predicted it will take. It's not like we're going to take our foot off the gas pedal. It's not like we're suddenly going to forget that we've debunked your entire model from within using your own begging the question fallacy. That's not going to go away. But in the meantime, they need some obfuscation so that people can stick their head in the sand, like, for instance, saying, it's been debunked, just baseless assertions that the black swan has been debunked. No, it hasn't. There is no debunking. There is a lot of people sticking their head in the sand. And so may it continue until you actually recognise just how dead the model is. But, in the meantime, like you say, the people like the Rumpus will come here and just reassert the 2015 argument. Like it's perfectly acceptable to still beg the question. Like it's perfectly acceptable to still utilise the R value to give you 7/6 of the geometric horizon you can't see anymore. It's just not. It's untenable. I'm not going to stop saying that.
Oh, wait. You mean kind of like how Stanley came back in the game after his little hiatus, thinking, I'm the man because I proved that there's curvature at Lake Pontchartrain, the only place apparently that you can see the curvature of the Earth. Then came back into the argument, asked what the geometric horizon and why we can't see it where it's supposed to be. Oh, what, that word soup, that geometric? I don't know what you're talking about.
Word soup.
What?
The word soup.
Hey, Chocolate.
It's supposed to be word
Chocolate.
salad.
who did Wakey Wakey interview? Wasn't it an astrophysicist PhD who said, well, the model is wrong? So they know what happens when you interview a PhD.
Yeah, they have to stick to the current rhetoric and they get their ass handed to them very quickly. Purcell's the most recent example of that. You've only got to open their mouth and see what's inside, and it's total nonsense.
How about Dr. Faulkner, who said that flat earthers just cite YouTube videos and that's not real at all. And then he ends up citing hillbilly blue balls. How embarrassing was that for that guy?
Yeah, so that's a brilliant story. Goes on radio and says, these stupid flat earthers, they're not looking in the right places. They're not talking to me. They're just doing a Google search, finding a video on flat earth. They don't know how to answer the questions being posed. So yeah, they're just Google parroters. And then Nathan Thompson goes up to him at a flat earth conference that he happens to be in attendance and says, how can you have gas pressure without a container? Stony silence. His next response on a public platform, which I believe was either Twitter or Facebook, was to say, here's how you have gas pressure without a container, and it's the hillbilly blue balls redneck retard gas pressure without a container in the title with 2 containers in the video. And that was his response, and it's what he got from a Google search. So it's like, project the fact that all you do is wiki parrot, and yet you've done a Google search and come across hillbilly blue balls with his absolute abject buffoonery showing gas pressure in 2 containers, claiming that he doesn't have a container. Another PhD embarrassment.
Just want to throw in there because Chocolate said something that Soundly, maybe some people don't know this, but Soundly didn't really go anywhere. He is the YouTuber Roger MC. That's Soundly. I heard him on one of Chemo's shows, and there was all ballers in the hangout, and I don't think he realised it was being recorded. And someone came in and said, "Hey, Soundly, I hear you there, but I don't see it." "Oh, Roger MC, that's me," he said. And yesterday, Roger MC was in QE's chat, and I just put it out there that Roger MC is Soundly, and I got a Brian LOL after it, and I said I have the audio, and suddenly he disappeared and came back then 20 minutes later. You know. That's
Isn't that interesting?
Roger MC.
So we could go back and have a look at a few Roger MC messages from way back when and see how soundly the coward behaves when he's on a sock account.
Exactly.
How interesting. Well, that would imply that he didn't take any hiatus whatsoever then.
No, he just became a sock for 2 years or whatever.
So he just hung around as a sock and then came back and played dumb about the word soup that is the geometric sphere edge horizon formerly known as Earth curve claimed to be demonstrated at a Pontchartrain, having sat in some of these very shows as Roger MC. What a fraud! I mean, do I expect less from the guy whispering in Geostreber's ear? No, of course not. The guy's a complete fraud.
Absolutely agree.
With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.